Hi everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of OneMicNite, the podcast that brings you personal stories of artists and real people on their journeys, helping to guide, answer questions, and inspire you in the business and in life. My guest today, who I'm very, very excited about, he does just that. He is a host, he's a producer of the show. You may already know him, I'm sure you do, 3LW TV. He became an influencer by showcasing positive images of people, millions of hits on YouTube. Please welcome Lonnell Williams to OneMicNite podcast. Lonnell, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. This is so cool. And it's so good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
It's been a long time. They don't know that we go way back, but
we go way back.
Way back. But yes, that's so good to see you.
Well, I have questions.
Sure.
Let's get on down to it. First of all, who is Lonnell Williams? Let everybody know who Lonnell is.
He is a kid who was born in San Francisco, California, grew up mostly in Oakland, went to college in LA, worked in the entertainment industry for a little while, left that business, went back to, got into aviation for a while. Then the dawn of the internet, I was able to get back into kind of bringing all of my worlds together. Mm-hmm. And I'm really just about, my tagline is staying in your light. And I'm really just about living your life to the fullest. And I am a huge proponent of that. And if you follow me, you see, I have some real wild, crazy stuff that happens in my life that's awesome and just kind of out of the norm. Right. But people don't realize, or they don't always see the work that you put in behind the scenes to manifest these things in your life. And I'm big on manifesting my dreams. So that's who I am. And I really just want to encourage other people to do the same thing. Get out of your own head, get out of your own way, and start to thrive. And you really just have to be active and conscious in that thriving. But a lot of us, we're so busy listening to external influences that we just get wrapped up in negativity. It's like, no, you're blocking your blessings.
Right.
That's who I am. I'm just like a lover of life, and I really just want, I do my best to stand in my light, and I really want to encourage and uplift others so that they can do the same.
And you do that well. I want to get back to that, but I want to actually can you take us back a little bit about, what was life for you growing up? What was that like?
Oh my goodness, growing up was interesting.
I know San Francisco.
Right, so it's interesting because my dad and my stepmom and my grandmother lived in San Francisco, and me and my mom and all of my cousins lived in Oakland. So literally, I really claim both cities because even though I went to school in Oakland, I literally spent as much time in San Francisco as well. So they were kind of bouncing back and forth, but I had the best of both worlds because I was my mom's only child, so I could go home and be spoiled. But then when I would go hang out with my cousins, there were 8 or 9 of us in the house. So I had to wait my turn, I had to get in line. So for me, I appreciate it now because like I said, I was able to have the best of both worlds. Growing up was pretty fun, pretty cool. I got to travel a lot even as a kid. I didn't know about limitations. I was always taught, if you work hard, you can have something. If you work hard, you can do this. And these are the pitfalls to disregard. And I give so much credit to my mom because she was always, she said, I'm going to show you what I believe is right, but you're going to have to make your own decision. And you will have to live with the consequences of that decision. Mm. And so as opposed to trying to force her beliefs on me, that was a huge proponent of my success because
she allowed for that creativity.
And for me to learn on my own. So I will always be so grateful to her.
Was she in the arts or was she?
No, my mom she worked in corporate America. She started out as a secretary. She worked her way up to the executive level in hospitality. I retired a few years ago. And that's the thing, as she was always this wonderful example. I always saw her hustling and going to work and really trying to make things happen and just watching her rise. And that's the demonstration that I had. And so I knew that that's how it's supposed to be. If you want to succeed, these are the steps that you have to do it. So it was demonstrated to me. And I will always appreciate her for that. I've been very blessed.
I like that. How was the high school and junior high school and all that kind of stuff?
junior high. Okay, I went to this junior high called. It's funny because in elementary school, I changed elementary schools every year because we moved a lot, right? So first through sixth grade, I went to a different school every year. By the time I got to junior high, I was in one junior high school. And I went to the same senior high school. So junior high was it wasn't that great. I was like, you know, it's like when you're going through puberty, and then I remember I'm still traumatized by this. Like one day we were playing basketball in the gym, and then there was a team with the shirts on and the shirts off, and I took my shirt off, and all the girls were like teasing me, like, "Oh, look at your bird chest." And I was petty even back then. I was like, I might have a bird chest, but I'm sure by next year you'll be pregnant. So I was just petty like that. That's why I've done a lot. Or sassy, I should say.
That's hilarious because I had actually the opposite experience. I was a chubby kid, so I wanted to take my shirt off. Because I had a little fat, a little fat here, fat stomach. So I had this, it was almost traumatic for me.
Right. So yeah, I was traumatized by that. They were look at this bird chest. And so, yes. But high school was a lot more fun. I was very popular in high school. I remember the first year, my sophomore year, I was going to run for class president, but there was another very, very popular girl who came from one of the other junior high schools who was actually, we kind of had a very special relationship. But so she did it. I was like, well, let me run with her. She's very popular. She's probably going to win. So I'll run as her vice president. So we did that, and I did that for the first semester. Then the second semester, she didn't want to do it again. So by that time, I had leveraged her popularity, and so I won. And basically, I went from, class president, student body president. And I was always trying to make us have fun. Like we work hard, we do well with our grades, but guys, let's have fun. At that time, it was like grad night was the big trip, the senior trip. I was like, well, we're having a trip every year. We'll go to grad night in the 12th grade, but in the 10th grade, we're going here, and in the 11th grade, we're going Fright night, so I was just always trying to motivate the class to just really, to live and have fun. It's so wonderful that I'm still in contact with so many of my classmates from high school, so that's pretty wonderful because of social media.
That's interesting because you seem like you carry that kind of spirit along with you now too. Like you still have the element of fun and
absolutely
vivacious life.
If it's not fun now, I don't want people to think that I'm like addicted to like this. I don't get addicted to the emotion. Like I'm not searching for a high. I don't want to just be elated all the time. But I try to find some contentment. But for me, it's like if it doesn't bring me peace and joy, then I have to move in a different direction. Sometimes when you have those rough spots, they're here to teach you something. So what I've learned is to listen and obey the whispers when it happens the first time. Mm-hmm. So I started doing that. That's the longest lesson it took me to learn. But once I did that, I was like, oh, okay. But now I love living my life to the fullest. And that may be something as simple as curling up with a good book, or traveling to a different country, whatever fun is to you or how that looks to you, get out of your head with, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, what I'm gonna do. Just affirm the experience. And then just keep planting those seeds in your consciousness. What will it feel like when I take this dream vacation? And you marinate in your consciousness, and before you know it, it's happened. And you probably didn't have to pay for it. Right. I mean, I have so many stories of like how that kind of stuff has happened in my life. And I don't have a patent on that. I just practice the principles and it just works.
Wow, yeah. Tell everyone about your show. Now, this show, like I said, has millions of hits and people have watched these shows. And you sort of go like all over the place with it.
Yes, so it started like about 10 years ago, right? At the dawn of social media, really the beginning stages of YouTube. And as a Black LGBT man, I would travel around the country and I would go to all these wonderful events in different cities. There were all these little pockets, but they were all local things. So people didn't really know about, if there was a Sizzle Miami, it was like a national thing. People were like, well, we kind of hear about it, but we don't necessarily know, or the Pride in DC, or what's happening in Charlotte. And I had the opportunity to experience these things. And when I would ask people in the community about stuff, they were always talking about they were bored, there's nothing to do. I'm like, no, there's plenty going on. And that's when I decided, how about I just put these videos up, platform, and share some of my experiences with all of these beautiful people that I'm meeting all across the country, even around the world. And that's how it started. And then people just started gravitating towards the videos and booking me to come travel and cover things. It was just a lot of fun. And then it got to be too much. So I ended up taking a break. And just because I just couldn't do it all by myself anymore. And then that was also the time I got connected with a very popular woman, Oprah Winfrey, through Twitter. I met her through Twitter. And so that kind of put another level of visibility on the platform, right? Because before I had this very niche audience, but now you're tweeting with Oprah, and now everybody and their mama wants to know who is this guy and what's happening. And it just became a little overwhelming, so I just couldn't keep it up. I took a hiatus, but I recently relaunched my 3lwtv.com site. I launched a book club, and I began doing more interviews and traveling and stuff around. Because there's still, I'm looking at, even though there's so much content out there, that space I'm still not finding it being fulfilled. So I just had to step back into it. My friends were like, can you just please do this? I'm like, oh, there's tons of people out there. They're like, no, we want your voice. I was like, okay. Well,
because you have a very unique style. And I have to say that I went back, when you started it, I used to watch it too, and then we get busy doing what we do. And I went back and I revisited some of that stuff. But you have a very unique style of doing it that makes it so interesting, for people to watch and be engaged. I want to talk a little bit about the technical part of it, because like you said, 10 years ago, the whole YouTube thing was kind of taken off and the social media platform and that whole thing. How did you actually start it?
Literally, I just put up a video. The very first video I didn't even want to be in it. I was like, I don't want this to be about me. So I just started putting up stuff like I would travel somewhere and I was like, look at this beautiful lakefront. It might just be a few seconds of something. Or look, I'm in Atlanta for Pride and this is what's happening. I just started posting them on YouTube and then using the hashtags, and people just gradually started sharing them. And the thing is, you have to be consistent. And so with consistency, it started to pick up, people liked it, and then they started sharing it, and then it just started growing and growing from there. So it's been a wonderful ride, but that's the thing. You just got to be consistent and just put the first video up. And even when I go back, I'm like, oh my goodness, the quality makes me cringe. Even though I knew it then, but we were doing everything shotgun. There was no lighting kit. There were no microphones. It was just, you had the camera and you had to make it happen.
About how many people did you have when you started it? I mean,
well, obviously, I didn't have anybody when I started. Like when I just opened the channel, I didn't have anyone. So, but what I did was, when I looked, the first event that I covered, say if I went to Black Gay Pride in Atlanta, well, when I put it up, I put in those hashtags, so whatever the popular hashtags were, so then people would search for that, because they were trying to see what was going on in Atlanta that weekend, Atlanta Labor Day, and then they would find the videos, and as they would find them, they would go through the channel and they would subscribe, and then it kind of grew from there. So it's wonderful. It's interesting because this summer, I kid you not, like I said, I had taken this hiatus, but I've been getting these signals like, you need to bring this back, you need to bring this back. And out of nowhere, YouTube randomly started promoting an 8-year-old video of mine. Wow. So like, it went from like 100,000 views since in August or July maybe. It was July 4th. And now it's over 1 million. And they've been just promoted, just randomly, they've been attaching it to other viral videos, which is cute for me because it's a cute check. Right. But again, it's a residual check. This is something I did 8 years ago. And now I'm making much more money off of it now than I did then. So I don't say that you're doing it for money, but I'm just saying that there are benefits.
No, but that is interesting, and I think that, a lot of people who listen to this, we wonder, sometimes we start projects and you start it out of love and you start it because you have you're passionate and you have what you want to make and all this stuff too, but the money is good. And that is an option, for doing things.
Absolutely. Just don't make that the sole option, the sole reason that you're doing it. You got to have a passion for it. You got to love it, but it does not hurt to get paid to do what you love.
That's right. You got that right.
It does not hurt to get paid. It's quite cute.
Right.
But again, it doesn't happen overnight either.
Right.
And that goes back to the consistency that we were talking about. You just got to keep, and stop looking at what everybody else is doing. That is my number one pet peeve. I don't want to do this because so-and-so was doing that. And then, so-and-so will never have your voice.
Right.
So you need, if something's on your spirit to create or to do, whatever it is, you need to follow that passion. You need to follow that because that's where your joy lies. Those things are not being placed on your heart or your desires unless you're capable of manifesting them. It just don't happen that way. So
let's talk a little bit about manifestation. So you mentioned a certain person picked up a tweet and it sort of help, uh, obviously it helped spawn a few other things, you know what I mean? Like it helped you even hone in on who you are.
Right. It did. And I've learned, like I said, I've been manifesting long before the open ended thing, but even from when I was in the college that I wanted to go to,
right.
I used to set up the flyers and the brochures across my bed every day and look at them and picture myself. I want to be, in this dorm and walk into class here and looking at the curriculum, and I want to take, I just really mentally immersed myself in it, and I hadn't been accepted. I didn't know how I was going to pay to go there, any of that stuff. And of course, all of that manifest because I planted the seed and I was faithful and obedient to surrendering. Because as long as you're not trying to figure it out. The whole thing with Oprah, I saw that she was on Twitter, and I was like, well, if she tweets something, I'm gonna, maybe she'll respond to it. And then she did respond to one of my tweets. And then before I knew it, she had invited me to a taping of her show when it was still in Chicago. And then she took me to dinner at her favorite restaurant, and then we just developed a relationship from there. And again, from Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
But I knew that was somebody who I wanted to be in their sphere. And it's interesting because I had an opportunity to work for her maybe a couple of years prior to that. And it didn't pan out, but I'm glad that it didn't, because the connection that I have with her now is so much better than if I were an employee of hers. So again, divine order in all things. You just got to let it go, and it will manifest much larger than you expect.
Absolutely.
I'm about manifesting experiences, so that's my thing. You might like things. You might want a car or a house, and so don't the principles of manifestation are the same, but you have to manifest what's true for your heart.
Right. And what are those principles? What would you say the principles are?
One, surrendering. That's the main thing. And by surrender, I mean you can speak the answer, you can speak the desire, but you can't figure out how to get there. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to limit it to money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I want to go on this trip, or I want this car, well, I'm trying to figure out in my head, how can I put a little bit of money away just speak it, see yourself in that car, have pictures of it. I do vision boards, I have pictures on the wall, whatever, do whatever, and just constantly how will it feel when I get in this car? And what will I be grateful for today? And that's the main thing. Gratitude, practice gratitude every day, and that will accelerate the process. So once you plant the seed, you got to water it, and I water mine with gratitude. And before you know it, it comes quickly. I'll give you another fun manifestation story. Our former president of Barack Obama, right? A couple of years ago, a friend and I were doing vision boards, and I wanted to meet. I was like, I want to be Obama, but I don't know how that's going to happen, because they done been in the White House. I'm not about to roll up on Michelle and Target. Here's this Secret Service bubble. Nobody's, you're not rolling into Obama might be in Starbucks, but the closest you're gonna get is a block away.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So literally, I put the picture on there, and I looked at it all the time, regularly, saying, I don't know how that's gonna happen. And that's the thing, I couldn't figure out how to make that happen. And then lo and behold, one day through work, I got an email saying that, I do travel. And so we were going to be traveling with a high government. They needed your Secret Service clearance, so you had to give me your information for that. And that, it could be Secretary of State, it could be anybody. And then I didn't know who it was until closer to, and I was like, Hawaii? Oh, that could be, because it was after Christmas. I was like, did the Obamas go to? And sure enough, it turned out to be the Obamas. I got to spend 2 days with them. I just wanted to pick, in my manifestation, I just want to meet you and get a picture. I spent 2 days with them. Have been able to keep in contact. It's just been wonderful. And again, this was for me, manifesting an experience. But it literally started from trying to practice gratitude and then putting that picture on my vision board a couple of years ago. And it took less than 2 years for it to actually manifest. And again, it manifests much better than I would have pictured it, right? So, and the fact that I've been able to stay in contact. In fact, I just got a signed copy of his book in the mail.
Oh, wow.
This is actually for my mom. Don't tell her. This is her Christmas gift. So she's got a signed copy of the book, and then mine is there. But I say this stuff to say that this stuff works, people. It works. Now, you don't have to be an Obama fan or like Oprah. Whatever it is that you like, just plant that seed in your consciousness and water it with gratitude. Those are the main things. And again, being consistent, because that's what will take you to actually making it come true. And there are books and stuff on it. There's one that I love that's called Future Boards by Sarah Trella, and she just outlines how to do a future board and how to water that garden to make those things happen. She's got an amazing story. So I try to surround myself around these kind of people that have these wonderful experiences, or that understand that I'm not crazy,
right,
and look at me like, okay, vision board, that's voodoo.
Right.
Like, no.
And like you said, it also takes planting the seeds, which requires work. So you have to do a little work too, but you also have to, in manifestation, you have to, visualize some things happening. But you are putting in some work as well.
You have to, and that visualization has to be constant. And that's what the vision board itself is, just some paper, it's pictures. I mean, it's not, but it's a physical reminder for you to do that mental work constantly. So that's the whole reason. It's not like hocus pocus. I'm going to put some pictures on the wall and boom, I'm going to have to light my thing. It takes a little than just that. But again, being consistent and being dedicated to, and believing that you deserve these things. A lot of us just don't believe that we deserve stuff, and we do. You deserve to have the absolute best. So stop blocking it from yourself.
Right. Do you meditate also? Or is that part of your?
I do meditate. It helps me stay centered, and I do different forms of meditation. Like I'll sit and do like a quiet meditation like that. But sometimes for me, if I'm like, water is very soothing, so I can walk on the beach at sunrise or sunset, and that's a form of meditation for me. Whatever finds you peace and where you're not thinking, and that's hard to do, especially when you first start out. The first time you try to meditate, it's like I'm remembering everything from what I wore to kindergarten on the first day of school to my first heartbreak to why you're thinking about everything, yeah. And then you start beating yourself up. But again, you have to be consistent. Just keep at it, and then before you know it, you'll learn to follow your breath and zone all that stuff out, and it just gives you a chance to recalibrate, space of peace every day. So yes, I'm a believer in meditation or prayer or whatever you do, whatever it is that you can do and be still,
right.
And feel and quiet your mind. Whatever
that's part of the balance. That's the balance that you need to get you to where you need to be.
Right. Because those emails are not going to stop. Those text messages are not going to stop. Those deadlines are not going to stop. You are one person. And trust me, if you drop dead, that company might send some flowers and they're going to replace you next. You know what I'm saying? So you can't live and die like that. You've got to live each day while you're here. And you've got to find, even if it's just a couple of minutes, or if you got to get up 5 minutes earlier, just so you can just have some tea, sip some tea in quiet before your kids get up. Something you gotta do to
protect your body, everything.
Yeah, everything. And that's huge for me. Huge.
Right. What do you have coming up next?
I just launched, like I said, the realwtv.com, and I'm going to be shooting some interviews. And I launched a book club, and actually our first title is this book from a young man in Atlanta called Black Enough, Man Enough. His name is G. Small. So people have been buying the book. I'm so excited. So we'll be discussing that. We'll be talking with the author. And I love it because he's mixed race, he's fluid sexually, and he never felt that he ever really belonged truthfully anywhere. And so his whole journey to self-discovery, there's baby mama drama, there was weight issues in school like you had. There's all kinds, it's something relatable, and which is why I picked it. It's like, the title might be like salacious, but there are so many nuggets in this man's story and his experience that are totally relatable to everyone of all walks of life. So that's really what I've been waiting for, and then working on the next book that I'm going to launch in January, and hopefully get to do some more traveling. So that's pretty much what I'm really trying to get back into the production of. And now we can do everything on Zoom, so it's not as.
I was just gonna say, are you doing this on Zoom, or is this going to be like?
It'll be on Zoom, then I'll put it on YouTube and my website. So it'll be I'll have it across all my platforms.
Beautiful.
People can see. Yeah. So, but the 3LWTV on any social media platform you can find it, or just Google it, and you'll find whatever I'm doing, because I push it out to all the platforms.
I love that. Final question: when it's all said and done, what do you want to leave behind? What do you want people to know about Lonnell?
Y'all can put on my tombstone like 3 words. He did that. That's all. He did that. Cause this child hopped across every continent, and not with a whole lot of money.
That's right. Yeah, I like that.
That life thing. He did that.
Right.
And I marched to my own drum. So that's what I would say. I would tell somebody that's what I would want to be remembered for. And I would want you to do the same.
Absolutely.
I would want you to live it to the fullest, and so that they can say that you did that too.
Yep. And I want them to have a party when I'm gone.
Yes.
Okay. Have a party.
And we sitting up looking at some dusty corpse and no.
A couple of shots of Jack Daniels. Have a party.
Have a party. Turn up, because I would. Preferably go somewhere luxurious and far away. Amen to that.
All right. Well, tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, sure. Primarily Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I do Snapchat, but I'm not. But they're all 3LWTV. And then 3LWTV.com basically has all of those platforms merged onto one single platform. But I am all things 3LWTV. The best way to reach me, whether it be email, whatever, it's there.
You just said it. You are all things.
I'm a lot of things. I'm a bit much at times.
Lonnell, my friend, thank you for coming on OneMicNite podcast. I really appreciate you. Everybody, please make sure you go to 3WLTV. Find out what's coming up next. Join the book club. Watch the videos. Do it all. Lonnell is there for you. My name is Marcos Luis. You can find me at Marcos Luis on everything, MarcosLuis. And make sure you go to OneMicNite.com and you'll find all the links to the OneMicNite podcast. Download, subscribe. It's on YouTube now. Thank you all for joining me for this episode. See you next time.